Maybe some of you also watched television yesterday and have seen the pictures of the first anniversary of the Occupy protests in New York. And those who have seen the pictures have also seen that the protesters have been brutally beaten, that they have been arrested in masses, and that the police obviously changed the tactics. Instead of tolerating the protests, they are actively trying to discourage people who are protesting, although I think they have some justice to the claim that they are representing the 99%, or at least 90%. Maybe this would be more correct. There obviously is a great fear of people organizing against this austerity, against free trade agreements, and against other forms of impoverishing people in their masses. So you have to realize that those measures are imposed on the people against the will of the people. And because there is this big fear, in most of the developed countries, we have to experience a real disaster. From my point of view, I cannot find any other word. A disaster that means that there are increasing restrictions on the rights, on democratic rights, and the freedom to protest and to organize. And just to give you one example from my country and one from the US, it's really hard to organize a demonstration nowadays and to make this into a legal act. I've been to the protests in Chicago against the NATO summit, the G8 summit, and in order to organize a protest there, if you want to carry a banner like this, we have in front of us, you need to have an insurance policy. You need to buy insurance to carry this banner, and the insurance covering $1 million. And you have to find an insurance company who covers this. So most people couldn't afford it and just had one-person placards, which are still allowed, but it's the next step also to forbid them. This is just one example. Another example from my country is if you register a demonstration, the police has to approve of you, like you are a reliable person, and they can talk to you. And if you organize one demonstration and there is a problem, you can no longer be the organizer of the next demonstration. So in many cases we have big problems in finding people which are accepted by the police. So this is, I think, not a very harsh example, but it's one example that tells us that democracy is something our ruling elites are very much afraid of. They obviously fear what is going to happen if people have a say. And therefore not only the laws are changing, it's also so that the so-called security forces are changing. The police and paramilitary forces, but also in some cases, like in my country, the armed forces are changing. In Germany, armed forces are preparing for action in so-called urban areas. In one of our regions in the east of Germany, a huge training area with 2 or 3 square kilometers of land, hundreds of buildings, is created just at the moment, including a subway station and things like this. It's no area for people to live in, just an area for soldiers to train how to control people. Not an enemy force, but to control people. And there has been investments in the hundreds of millions of euros in this kind of training facility for armed forces. They tell the public in Germany it's not against you, it's just for the places where we are active abroad. But I don't feel so confident that it's going to be just abroad, and even if it's just abroad, it means to acting against the people in Kosovo, for example, or in Afghanistan or anywhere else. It doesn't make anything, it isn't going to be better. Of course, it's targeting other people and their ways to organize. So we have to be very careful in what's happening around us, not only in the economic level, but also on the level of democracy, on the level of so-called security forces. because our ability to organize and to protest is very, very important in order to change things. If it is impossible to gather people on the street, it's very hard to change a situation. So we have to fight for these democratic rights.